My name is Walter. I am 74 years old, and I need to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. I did everything right. I was faithful. I worked hard. I didn't walk away. I didn't cheat. I did exactly what I was told a good partner should do. And even so, I ended up alone. For years, I believed that following the rules was enough, that being correct, responsible, and stable would guarantee someone would stay by my side. Everyone repeats this, society teaches this, but no one prepares you for the day you realize that you can do everything right and still lose the person you love. Today, at 74 years old, I finally understand why. And if you're in a relationship or don't want to end up alone, what I'm about to tell you could save you many years of regret. For a long time, from the outside, my life seemed to be working. I was in a stable relationship. There were no scandals, no constant fights, no major crises. People said I was a good partner, reliable, responsible, and I believed that. I believed that fulfilling my role was enough, that being physically present was sufficient, that doing the bare minimum right would guarantee the maximum in the end. But there is a silent mistake no one warns you about when you enter a relationship. A mistake that doesn't look like a mistake at first. A mistake that doesn't cause arguments or immediate breakups, but slowly creates distance day after day. I only realized this too late, and what I discovered explains why so many people do everything right and still end up alone. The turning point didn't come from a fight. There were no raised voices, no accusations, no doors being slammed. It was something much quieter than that. I remember the day clearly. We were sitting at the table after dinner. Everything felt normal, routine, until she looked at me and said with a calmness that frightened me, "Walter, we've become strangers." That sentence froze me because in my mind, nothing was wrong. I was there. I did my part. I hadn't done anything wrong. But in that moment, I realized something I had never considered. A relationship doesn't end when someone fails in an obvious way. It begins to die when two people stop truly meeting each other, even while sharing the same space. That was when I understood I didn't lose that relationship all at once. I lost it little by little without even noticing. The biggest lie I believe, and maybe you believe it too, is that doing everything right is the same as loving well. I thought that being faithful, responsible, and predictable was proof enough of love, that not making mistakes was the same as caring, that simply playing my role was enough to keep someone by my side. But here's the truth no one tells you. Correctness does not create connection. A relationship isn't sustained by the absence of mistakes. It's sustained by presence, by interest, by real emotional involvement. I wasn't a bad partner, but I wasn't a truly present one either. And that's why so many people do everything right and still end up alone. Not because they failed in obvious ways, but because they confuse stability with intimacy. The problem is that this kind of mistake doesn't happen all at once. It's built through small daily decisions that seem harmless. I would come home tired and choose silence over conversation, not out of disinterest, but out of convenience. I listened, but I didn't ask. I was physically present, but emotionally absent. I believed stability was the same as closeness. That routine meant safety, that not arguing was a sign of maturity, and without realizing it, we slowly traded curiosity for habit, interest for predictability, connection for coexistence. The relationship was still there, but it was no longer being nurtured. And this is the most dangerous mistake of all, when nothing seems wrong, but everything starts to grow cold. Because by the time the distance becomes visible, it's usually already too late to fix it. After everything ended, I started paying attention to stories I had once overlooked. Stories of people who, like me, did everything right and still ended up alone. A friend of mine was married for more than 30 years. He never cheated, never raised his voice. He was always a dependable provider. When his wife left, he couldn't understand why. Months later, she said something that stayed with me deeply. I felt safe with him, but I didn't feel chosen. Someone else told me their relationship didn't end with a big final fight. One day, it simply ended when someone said, "I'm tired of feeling alone beside you." These stories all have something in common. They're not stories of betrayal, abuse, or disrespect. They're stories of prolonged emotional absence. People who didn't fail in obvious ways, but slowly stopped connecting with intention. It was only after I was alone that I was finally able to see things clearly. Not what went wrong at the end, but everything that never happened over the years. I didn't lose that relationship because of one big mistake. I lost it because of small, repeated absences. Conversations I kept putting off. Moments I treated as insignificant. Simple gestures I left for later. I used to think love was about not doing anything wrong. Today, I know that love is about showing up. It's about being involved. It's about showing interest, even when routine has already settled in. What hurts the most isn't remembering the things I did wrong. It's remembering the things I could have done and chose not to, because it felt like there would always be time. There wasn't. So I want you to ask yourself a few questions, honestly. Not for me, for yourself. When was the last time you had a real conversation with the person by your side? Not about bills, tasks, or routine, but about feelings, fears, and dreams. Are you just doing things right, or are you truly present? Does the person you're with feel safe, but also feel chosen? Do you show genuine interest? Or do you simply play your role, hoping that will be enough? Because there is a huge difference between keeping a relationship running and making someone feel truly connected to you. And ignoring that difference is exactly what leads so many people to end up alone without ever understanding why. If you're still in a relationship, I need to be direct with you. This can still be fixed, but not with vague promises, emotional speeches, or late grand declarations. Connection doesn't return through pretty words. It returns through consistent behavior. It starts with real presence, being truly there without a phone in your hand, without your mind somewhere else, listening without thinking about your reply, asking questions without rushing, showing genuine interest in what the other person feels, not just in what they do. The second change is simple but difficult. Curiosity. Stop acting as if you already know everything about the person beside you. People change, fears change, desires change, and relationships begin to die when someone stops wanting to know who the other person is becoming. The third is intention. Don't wait for special dates, perfect vacations, or the ideal moment. Create experiences together now, even if they're simple. A conversation without distractions, an unexpected invitation, a gesture that says without words, I choose you, because love isn't sustained by good intentions from the past. It has to be reaffirmed in the present, repeatedly, every single day. I did everything right, and even so, I ended up alone. Today, at 74 years old, I understand that the problem was never a lack of character nor a lack of commitment. It was a lack of intentional connection. Relationships don't end because someone makes too many mistakes. They end because someone stops choosing the other person every single day. If this resonated with you, don't ignore it. Reflect. Act while there's still time. Because ending up alone is rarely a surprise. Most of the time, it's the result of small absences repeated over the years.